Including talking about an event happening this weekend. It's all to support research and finding a cure for ovarian cancer. So I am joined here in studio by Stacey Goen. She is an ovarian cancer survivor, and she's going to talk with us a little bit about the Shake Your Teal Feathers event that's happening this weekend. Stacey, thanks so much for being here to talk about this. Love the outfit. It was the first thing we talked about. And the whole event is Shake Your Teal Feathers, focusing on the color teal, which is the color for ovarian cancer. So that's why you're all decked out with your tutu. Before we talk about your personal story, which I so appreciate you sharing with us, the event this weekend, you guys are looking to add even more people to support this really meaningful cause. Tell me just a little bit about what this weekend will entail.
This is my third year doing Shake the Teal Feathers. It's a walk, but you don't have to walk. There's wagons, there's strollers.
Whatever works.
Whatever works to get you down a little pathway. It's at the Meadows and Millenium Park, so if anybody's been there, they know what that is. It's to raise awareness and advocate for ovarian cancer. It's the lesser known of the cancers that is out there. It's very underfunded, and there's really no a lot of diagnosis tools. We don't have a screening tool for ovarian cancer. So a lot of what Millioka does is to raise awareness about what are the symptoms, and then also like, hey, we need to advocate for research and get some things, more recent treatments and more recent diagnosis to us.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, you know, this is really just a fun event to bring people together. We've got some photos from years past that we can play. Everyone's decked out in their teal. You know, you don't need to be any sort of a competitive runner, walker, anything. Bring your kids, you know, bring whatever ability you have to the table to participate. As you mentioned, you know, oftentimes we hear about breast cancer, we hear about colon cancer, but we don't often or quite as often talk about ovarian cancer. As someone who has survived that diagnosis, you know, I'm sure that's a bummer to hear about, and you really want to just spread the word so that more people know about this.
Yes, it's like I say, it's very much, you just don't know until you hear those words, and you know, like I was there hearing the words, and knowing that I had the symptoms, you know, bloating, pelvic pain, lack of appetite, you know, you just feel full really fast, fatigue. There's a lot of different symptoms, and it was all pointing that way. I'm not the median age, which is 65. I was 45 at my diagnosis, so it was, you know, like very impactful that like, oh my word, I had all of these symptoms and I didn't even, you know, like realize that. And one of my first outreaches was to Millioka to find out about, I just wanted to know that there was other survivors.
Sure.
A lot of times it is often caught late and you just don't have the time, you know, it needs to, that's why we need diagnosis tools to catch it at stage 1 versus stage 4.
And just spreading the word so that people know what the symptoms look like, as you mentioned. Any more details you can tell us? I so appreciate you sharing your story. You know, those symptoms you described aren't necessarily symptoms that people would think, oh my goodness, cancer. You know, it sounds more, you know, a couple of the symptoms rather, more run-of-the-mill things that many of us may, you know, experience due to any number of reasons. But knowing that those coupled together could be this diagnosis, I'm sure, is something that a lot of people just don't know.
They don't know. And that's why we want to come together and do this advocacy walk, because it's celebrating the survivors, the thrivers, the fighters that are still fighting, and to honor those that maybe have passed before us. So it's us coming together. There's, they do silent auction. There's ice cream at the end, which is always fun.
Yes.
And so it is just about a day of like getting in there. And that was like my first time that, other than by telephone reaching out to people, I was able to reach survivors in person and hear their stories and find out that I'm not alone, and be able to get all of this really great information from Millioka. And then there's other advocacy groups that are there giving information out about how they also support survivors and families also of people that have had ovarian cancer in any way been touched by it.
And I think you just kind of hit the nail on the head there, but for anyone who's watching who, you know, may be dealing with an ovarian cancer diagnosis or is a survivor like yourself, maybe they've lost a loved one and they've not yet been to this event, but you'd really, you know, like to grow this community and grow this, you know, source of awareness, what would be your push to them to, you know, check out the event this weekend in Grand Rapids?
I definitely say, come and check it out. I mean, even if, you haven't been or if it's been a few years and your family kind of had forgotten about it, we have all these families that come out together just in support of their survivor.
Yeah.
I have friends that walk with me and family members. So it's just about coming together, like as a group. And it's super cheap, $28 for adults, $10 for kids, 5 and under are free. Bring those strollers, bring those wagons. Survivors are free. There's little totes, and we give them sashes. So it's about celebrating our survivors, remembering our ones that have passed away, and just having this fun day of just being together and finding out all the resources. So.
Absolutely, and you touched on it, but here's the information for the walk. It's this Sunday, the 28th. Everything kicks off at noon and will run to the mid-afternoon. Again, it's at Millenium Park here in Grand Rapids, specifically the Meadows Grant Pavilion. Adults, $28, kiddos are $10, and again, this is not a competitive event by any means. Just come out, show your support, learn more, connect with other people who may be dealing with a similar diagnosis to you. Stacey, thank you so much for coming in and talking about this. I'm sure your outfit will be either this or even better on Sunday.
Yes, I was going to say tutus are not, they don't have to be
not
there.
Required, but encouraged.
But encouraged, and that's the biggest thing is
awesome.
Just to get the color teal. And September is Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month.
Well, thank you for coming in and working to spread the awareness about this and sharing your story and encouraging others in the community, to join this group and find that support that is here in the Grand Rapids area. I really appreciate it.
Yep, we need more people at, MIOCA. I mean, their goal is to work towards earlier detection and improved outcomes with treatments. Like I say, a lot of the treatments for ovarian cancer are very old and outdated. We want to see new ones to come there. And there's programs that support families and individuals. They also have educational awareness throughout. There's a SPEAK program. We recommend organizations that have large groups, especially of women, reach out to MIOCA on their website and get a SPEAK organization to come in and talk to your group, because it's about letting people know what are the symptoms, what do I need to look for. I've talked to a lot of friends since my diagnosis, and I'm just like, it might not be cancer, but that is one of the symptoms I had, and get in there and talk about it.
Absolutely.
So they also, a lot of the money that's raised during the walk will go towards MIOCA funds grants. $850,000 to date has been with Michigan-based grant researchers for ovarian cancer. And then they just want to see change. They want to make us the visible color, because everybody thinks pink, but to make the teal the more visible. We're very underfunded with ovarian cancer research, and we want to see that change. 1 in 91 is our diagnosis, so that's very the risk chance. In Michigan, 650 this year is the projected, with 20,890 nationwide. So those are still big numbers.
Absolutely.
And to know that you can get it at any age. I've heard as young as 9 and as old as 85.
Oh my goodness.
So there's no age. It can be anything. So it's just looking at knowing your risk factors. That can also be your family. If you have genetics, somebody else. BRCA is a big name with breast cancer, but it also is with ovarian cancer. So knowing those things, I had no genetic history of this, so it doesn't have to be that way either. You just want to know your symptoms and know how to get help when you need it.
And maybe it doesn't end up being an ovarian cancer diagnosis, but at least you can get checked early, and then your fight could hopefully be that much more successful.
Yes.
Okay. Stacey, thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate your time. Again, that walk is this Sunday at Millenium Park. We're going to take a quick break.